Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This is Interstate 70 Sports Media. I'm the Maestro Jeremy Karp alongside Michael Berry Sr. here, folks. And welcome to the Redbird Breakdown. We got a lot to cover. Michael, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. See that the Cardinals are, finally we're starting to see movement. Finally, we're starting to see things happen.
You know what's funny to me is just when I thought the biggest news that we would get today of the Cardinals was that they were leaving, officially FanDuel Sports Network and everything. And they launched Cardinals.tv. Suddenly, the Brendan Donovan trade happens, and it has thrown everybody for just a whirlwind here because it's not a 1-for-1 or anything like that. This is a massive trade that we have happening here. And it came out just a couple hours ago, the full details. And for the longest time, we were waiting on the actual return of it. And finally, we got that clarity of who they got. And bear with me, I have the full return and everything. I wanted to see if I could pull it up at all on our screen for those of you tuning in live. And the Cardinals ended up getting a plethora of players and comp picks in return for trading Brendan Donovan. Now, like I said, this was a 3-team trade. So It involves the Seattle Mariners, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, the Cardinals are sending second baseman, infielder, utility man, the all-around guy, Brendan Donovan, to the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners are sending starting pitcher, and they're arguably one of their top prospects and former first-rounder, Durangelo Senja, as well as outfielder Ty Pete, and a Comp B round draft pick, which I believe is number 68 overall to the Cardinals.
Yep.
And on top of that, the Rays are sending outfielder Colton Ledbetter and a Comp B pick, which is number 72 overall to the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mariners, in turn, are sending third baseman Ben Williamson, the 25-year-old, to the Rays. And, I mean, we got to piece this all together here because, Michael, there's a lot out here. The Cardinals, Brendan Donovan has been arguably the hottest topic of trade talks throughout Major League Baseball. I know that a lot of the Mariners and the Blue Jays were two of the top teams that were interested in him. The Mariners seemed to be the team that was most on board with trying to acquire him. And what we learned later on, not too long ago, was that this was a deal that was almost fully in place for weeks now.
Yep.
It was just, once again, trying to get the logistics out of the way, which is always harder when it's 3-team trades, when there's multiple teams and players involved. And it's interesting to me because I look at how this all played out. You brought it up to me earlier, losing Donovan sucks in the sense of his leadership and the talent he brings. But to your point that you brought up to me, he is 29, or he's on the verge of being 29. This is a great opportunity for the Cardinals.
Absolutely. And I mean, you look at just the draft picks here, Jeremy. 68th overall, 72th overall. People say, okay, cool. So you got, we're around second, third round picks here. That's not the only thing you get, though. You get the additional ability to spend more money when you draft somebody. So, for example, you might see guys fall that you're like, wow, how did they get to this spot? How did they get to that spot? It's because teams are reluctant to, really put that, the amount they can spend during the draft into certain players. So this allows the Cardinals flexibility, right? So You're talking about where are we at? I believe 13th, if I'm not mistaken, or is it 12th or
Yes.
13th? 13th. So we're at the 13th pick. However, we may get a top 10 talent that falls to the Cardinals, where this extra money that you're going to get from having these extra picks, you're going to have a surplus, and you're going to be able to spend there. And not just that, but I mean, what's more fun than an ambidextrous pitcher? I mean, that's got me. That sold me right there. He could have been the only player we got in the deal. But you got him, you got Ty Pete, who, by the way, I believe, from what I was kind of reading up on him a little bit, is not only an outfielder, also an infielder, also has versatility, has played shortstop. So you look at that, it's almost like a younger version of who? Brendan Donovan. I'm not saying he's Brendan Donovan. I'm not saying he has the glove.
No, I get
But but
that.
but however, you never know, right?
Right.
So very, very, very interesting there. And Colton Ledbetter, I'd be lying if I said I knew a lot about him, but the Cardinals definitely got the largest return here. The more immediate return, who wins the trade this season? It's going to be the Seattle Mariners, and that's fine because this season isn't going to be about contending for the Cardinals. They're finally taking a route that, to be honest with you, I feel like they should have taken over a half decade ago. And that's good to see as well.
You're talking about Ty Pete, for example. I mean, he's played 3 minor league seasons, 265 total games, and he's at 28 home runs. According to John Poe, he's got a 247 batting average and 54 doubles, 154 RBIs. And you talk about the versatility he has. He also has stolen 76 bases on top of that.
I like that.
Once again, the 11th best prospect in the organization for the Mariners. So you got a borderline top 10 guy.
Absolutely.
Going to, I mean, the Cardinals, okay, this is how I look at it. The Cardinals are, you can call it a rebuild, you can call it a retooling, however you want to word it. Chaim Bloom is doing it the right way. He is going out there and he is trading away aging veterans that still have a lot of talent. And he's trying to eat away a lot of that money. Make sure to dump off a lot of contracts. A lot of people thought that when Donovan and the Cardinals agreed through arbitration, a lot of people thought, well, now he's not going to be traded. No, it just, if anything, increased the chances. Yeah, it was all just about the formalities of it. It was more likely that he was going to be traded because now you just cleared a big hurdle in regards to his contract.
What did he get in arbitration?
Oh my gosh.
Good question.
I believe he got a $5.8 million contract. That was the 1 year. I knew he got the highest of the players that got the arbitration for the Cardinals.
Rightfully so, yeah.
Well, much deserved. And yeah, I know it was $5.8 million. And you look at the Seattle Mariners team, they were 1 game away from going to the World Series for the first time.
Winning a pennant, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to like for them in this trade as well. I mean, and the thing we also have to remember, right? So you speak of top 10, prospects in a system. Not all systems are created equally, right? Like, I think most people could agree Seattle's system is thought highly of, mainly for their pitching. But so when you talk about, what I'm curious to see is where do these players slot in our system, in the Cardinal system? Because I would almost bet dollars to donuts here that the Cardinal system isn't quite what the Mariner system is, especially when it comes to pitching.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you talk, when it comes to the Cardinals farm system and pitching, obviously the top 2 names that come to mind are Tink Hence and Quinn Matthews. Those are the guys that we are within about a year or 2 away from seeing at the major league level. And depending on how the Cardinals do this year, we might see them at the end of this year. Tink Hence, to me, has a lot of raw talent, but injuries are what's plagued him.
Absolutely.
That has been the big question mark. But when he's on, and adding Senja brings, it's so funny to me because we talk about this. Yeah, we've heard of switch hitters. When have you heard of a switch pitcher?
Mm,
We talk about the Otanis who can hit and pitch, but
sure.
you to hear about a pitcher that can pitch lefty and righty and do it well on both sides. I mean, that is a huge crisis for opposing lineups because obviously managers always make their lineups based on, as well as who the pitcher is and
Absolutely.
how he throws and how well he does compared to left-handed and right-handed batters. Well, now we're in the situation where, wait a minute, we got a guy who does great against both. Now what the hell are we going to do? So I do like, and we're talking about this Mariners team. Yeah, okay, yes, Donovan's going to be 29, but they did get a great guy and a great player because now you got Brendan Donovan with Josh Naylor, Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, Randy Rosarina. This
Mhm.
Mariners team has suddenly gone from being a World Series favorite to an even bigger World Series favorite.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. You look at, and the most interesting thing to me about the ambidextrous pitcher thing, right, is, and this has come up. So typically with ambidextrous pitchers, at some point, right, they have to choose: am I going to be a lefty? Am I going to be a righty? A lot of times,
Right.
a pitcher is much better throwing righty or bunch. So it'll be interesting to see because they've continued to develop him as both lefty and righty. What'll be interesting to me is the first time, if you see this kid called up to the Cardinals, the first time he goes up against a switch hitter,
Ooh.
because in the rules, right, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I umpire baseball, but I've never seen this obviously, and I do it at a youth level, not at a professional level. I believe that the hitter has to declare what side they're hitting from, and then that's that. And the pitcher then would pitch the way they want to pitch. So it's actually a tremendous advantage for the pitcher because if a batter, declares lefty, you're going to pitch lefty, right? So on and so forth. So it'll be interesting, definitely interesting to see as he progresses up the ranks. I'm not exactly sure. I believe he in Double A last year. Or he's reporting to Double A for the Cardinals.
Yes.
So I look at the way I look at the minor league system anyway is Triple A is kind of a mix of your guys that are one step away, but also a lot of veterans sit there. A lot of I think Double A is, and you've seen it time and time again where guys jump from Double A to the majors. So it'll be definitely interesting to see what happens with him. Ty Pete. It'll be interesting to see what happens there as well. How old was Ty? Did you say was it Ty or maybe it was Colton Ledbetter that was 25?
Uh, I think Ty is
Let me look.
25 as well.
He
I know
is
Ben
no, he's
Williamson
he's
is
he's about
25.
he's 20 and a half. He's young. He's 20 and a half.
Oh man.
20 years, 175 days. So whatever that the math comes out to,
Right.
he's basically, halfway to 21. So that's interesting right there. You get a real young kid that you can develop in your system, and Cardinals have done a pretty solid job of being able to develop, hitters. I know I'll get, you know, kind of lit up for that with Jordan Walker and his struggles. But we've seen a lot like Mason Wynn, Victor Scott. There's some room to grow. Ledbetter is just he actually 24 and 79 days, so
Okay,
he's
so he's
we
doing
got a little while before the season starts, but we're gonna age 24 years, so we got some tools here, Jeremy. That
well, Michael, here's my question for you is you mentioned Jordan Walker. I love that you did because here's the thing. We talk about his struggles. A lot of it is because I think injuries and just frequent call-ups and send downs. So my question to you is when how does Brendan Donovan's trade affect Jordan Walker?
So I think there's a couple of things there, right? I don't know that this trade directly affects Jordan Walker. However, there will be residual effect with Jordan Walker. And I'm going to go on a little bit of diatribe, and I apologize, but the kid has been mishandled from day one. And what do I mean by that? Again, the constant call ups, call downs, changing his swing in the middle of the season. The issue there is that you have to, when you're dealing with a young talent, in my opinion, just my opinion, what everyone is entitled to theirs as well. But I believe you need to focus on one specific area, especially with a young player who, when you come up, it's a lot different than when you get into that system. There's a lot that was thrown at Jordan Walker, right? There's a lot, and really the fielding change, that's a huge change. You're talking about moving from third base to right field. There couldn't be, I'm not going to say there couldn't be. There are other significant, if you move from like say first base to shortstop, that's the like biggest, that's crazy, right? But you're talking about moving from third base to right field. That in and of itself is not an easy thing to do, right? With Jordan Walker, I think the effect this has on him is residually is that Brendan Donovan's not there to play right field, right? He's one of your options to play right field. He's not there anymore. So Jordan Walker, that's just more time. I think Alec Burleson is someone who, with Wilson Contreras gone, is going to play a lot of first base. Typically, he would play a lot of right field. I think there's going to be every opportunity for Jordan Walker to continue to grow as a right fielder. My concern with Jordan Walker is that he's been so mixed up so many times that you can kill a player's confidence so bad. And I did not appreciate the way the Cardinals handled the beginning, the middle, or hopefully not the end yet, but I haven't appreciated how things have been handled with Jordan Walker. I don't think I honestly don't feel like the kid's getting a fair shake. And there's a lot of people who say, "Oh well, everyone's got to prove themselves out." You're talking about a kid that got skyrocketed through our system. Didn't this position change happen just as much at the major league level as it did at the minor league level? That is to me is unrealistic expectations at work. That being said, Jordan Walker is how old is he now? 24, I believe, or 23. Um, there is there
Yeah,
at
Jordan
the same
Walker's
time,
23 right now. He'll be
23.
24 in May.
He'll be 24, so basically almost 24.
Right.
Clock's ticking. Clock's ticking. Sending him down so many damn times. And, people, anybody that follows me on X knows how I feel. It's not a knock at Nolan Gorman. Nolan Gorman had his, in my opinion, most progressive and best season last year. And I'm glad for him, and I'm happy for him. I have nothing personal against Nolan Gorman. What I do take personally is when people compare the two, when Nolan Gorman is, I believe, 2 or 3 years older, maybe 2 years older than Jordan Walker, A. And B, Nolan Gorman, yes, was the third base prospect who was asked to move to second base, which is tough, but it ain't right field, right? Personally, looking at things 2020 vision, looking backwards, I would have loved to see Jordan Walker put at first base. 6'6" guy, like it makes sense. However, Alec Burleson, in my opinion, has won the first baseman's job now that Wilson is gone, and that's where he should stay, and Jordan should stay in right field. I do think sometimes people love to compare apples and oranges when we're talking about Nolan Gorman and we're talking about Jordan Walker. You're not talking about the same thing here. So that's my little diatribe. I apologize, but
No, you are
um,
fine.
I have high hopes still for Jordan Walker. Unfortunately, I think the one thing that's really been the biggest influence point of emphasis with him has been he's got to hit the ball at the ballpark. He's got to put an arch on his hits, and he's got to hit. I think that's so stupid. I really do. I think you let a guy hit, and if Frank Thomas, a Hall of Famer, by the way, says the same thing as me, don't take my word for it. Go talk to Frank Thomas. Okay, he had a lot of home runs, by the way. I don't care if it's a line drive or but I want to see hits, however you get them. But you can't alter somebody's swing to where they're so whacked out of their swing that now you're just getting pop-ups. You're getting, it's to me it's silly, but it's the new era of baseball, and I have to take that for what it's worth. There's some great stuff coming out of there, and there's some stuff that I think is not so great.
Yeah, and I'm asking, and lost in all of this, I'm asking myself, we look at all the young guys the Cardinals have and the integral success or the parts they will play in the success of this team. Mm-hmm. Well, now that you trade a guy like Brendan Donovan, okay, Nolan Arenado, I look at all the Cardinals up to this point that have gotten traded away.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson Contreras, I get it. Yes, he was a first baseman, converted from catcher. Herrera locked up catcher just fine. And then obviously moving Contreras to first was great for the sake of his health. But like you said, you got a guy like Burleson that'll fill up first base nicely. You know,
Yep.
and if they want to try Jordan Walker there, you can try it. But Burleson
I
seems to
wouldn't.
have that.
I think that, and here's why I say I wouldn't. I think that ship has sailed. You can't ask this kid has to stay in right. You got to let the kid stay right field, left field, right corner off. I'd leave him alone because
Well, and
you
then
move him to first
and
base.
that's fine. I don't have an
Yeah.
issue with that. And you know, you get Sonny Gray gets traded.
Yeah.
He was the de facto ace for a couple years with the team.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals, once again, we talk about the youth that they have coming in. The
Mhm.
Cardinals have filled their rotation over the past few years with aging veterans and mid 30s guys. You know,
Yep.
we've seen a lot of, you know,
Band-Aids.
yeah. And so now you get to Nolan Arenado. Up to this point, Arenado was the biggest trade. I personally think Brendan Donovan getting traded is bigger than Arenado because there was a million reasons why Arenado was rightful that he got traded. You know,
Yep.
age, declining performance, the salary. I mean, you love Arenado, but you have to cut what you can while you can, especially if you're behind Bloom in the rebuild you're doing. So then we get to Donovan. Now, all of these pieces, you say to yourself, all these players that get traded, it's like pieces of the puzzle that you can replace. So here's the question. Where do we look at what the Cardinals have gotten? We've talked extensively about what the Cardinals have gotten in return in this trade.
Sure.
Where do the Cardinals go from here, though, in filling the role of Brendan Donovan?
So, my opinion is who should be the favorite for Rookie of the Year this year, JJ Weatherholt. I think that's where you go. I think that kid now has a path paved for him. Now, the argument, of course, will be, well, give him a consistent position. Mason Wynn ain't moving off shortstop. If they move Mason Wynn off shortstop, I'm taking a year off from this team, I swear. So
I don't see them moving him now.
I love me some Mason Wynn, and this goes back a couple off seasons ago when a lot of people didn't like me so much because how come we didn't sign Xander Bogart? Because first of all, Xander Bogart sucks, right? He had to get moved off of shortstop to second base. He was overpaid. He was given a 13-year contract. I can go on and on, right? Why didn't we sign Dansby Swanson? Because we got Mason Wynn for a lot cheaper. And Dansby Swanson, go ask a Cubs fan how he does in clutch situations, right? Great glove over there, not knocking the guy. But at the end of the day, would I rather pay Mason Wynn, on a rookie salary, or would I rather throw all that money at? Okay, so off of that subject, JJ Weatherholt, I think he slots in easily as your third baseman. I think he could give a break to Mason Wynn at short if necessary. Probably won't do that. I'm trying to think because the real question for me here is who's our backup shortstop? Because Brendan Donovan, in my opinion, could play shortstop. Was he as good as Mason? No, but he could fill in there, right? That's where I think the concern would come in for me. But I think a guy like JJ Weatherholt, who is an excellent bat, an excellent fielder, I think that is your guy. This is a big reason why I think Brendan Donovan, they even thought about trading him in the first place, is because you have a JJ Weatherholt.
I was going to say, you take a look at some of the guys that, that aren't even a part of the team anymore. Like Lucan Baker, who was a first baseman. Obviously, we could talk about Contreras. Maybe you could put Gorman as a backup shortstop. You talk about who could be a backup. Gorman.
Please, I wouldn't do that one. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, they may have to.
He's a liability out there. I get it.
He's a liability at second base so I may have misspoke here. Maybe Weatherholt slots in at second. Now thinking about, because I think Gorman, they were having play at third. Gorman's not like third base. He's he's not Arenado, but who is like he's got an arm. You know what I mean? Like I can see.
No, I meant second as opposed to short. If I said short, no. Mason Wynn needs to stay at the shortstop. That's
absolutely
what I meant.
Yeah. Now Mason Wynn has to stay healthy.
If Wynn stays healthy, he has to be the solidified. Because the biggest argument I think with Weatherholt is whether you were going to put him at third to fill in the spot for Arenado, or if you were going to put him like where in the infield. It was either second, short, or third. But
I think he can do all three. I think
so too, but you already have, I think, one solidified spot, and that's Mason Wynn at short.
Absolutely.
So you put Weatherholt. Personally, I see how spring training goes. As of now, I am penciling in JJ Weatherholt as the third baseman. I would start him as third. See what you got going for you over the course of the spring at the second base position. That's like in my head, I'm getting short and second mixed up. But no, in the second base spot. That's where you can shift a lot of infielders. But you once again, you've also said it, Burleson, first baseman right there. So you got, 4 out of the 5 infield spots right there. You got Burleson, you got Wynn, Weatherholt, and Herrera. So now it's just about second.
So, looking up their roster, Millie, I'm cheating. Thomas Saggese, forgot about him. He can back up shortstop. Should he start there? No, but that's how they have it listed anyway. I can see that. Still scary. Here's the other thing. Mason Wynn isn't going to start 162 games for you. It's
No,
not, and nor should he.
Nor should he. No, I wouldn't push him that far.
But I could see Saggese playing 15, 20 games there. I could see Weatherholt playing a few games there. But see, the weird thing about, and I still don't understand it, is Donovan really didn't play all that much shortstop for us, though. If you think of the last couple of years, I feel like 3 years ago when he won the utility gold glove, he didn't have to. He didn't have to. He
DH'd a lot. He played second. Like I said, I feel like the Cardinals have been in a position where, and I know it's, we joke about how great their shortstops have been in history, but the Cardinals have had really solid shortstop play over the past few seasons where they haven't had to worry. It's just Donovan brought that great depth to where, say something did happen to Mason Wynn and he got hurt. Oh, well, Donovan's in the lineup at DH. Well, great. We can put somebody else at DH, put Gorman at DH, put Donovan out at short. Just to hold it over, So I guess the last thing, as we're wrapping it up here on the Redbird Breakdown, we look at this trade. Brendan Donovan goes to Seattle. The Cardinals get Durangelo Senja and Ty Pete from the Mariners, as well as a comp pick, a comp B pick for that matter. And they also get Colton Ledbetter from the Rays and a comp B pick there as well. So overall, the Cardinals get 2 picks, 3 players. The Rays get Ben Williamson, and the Mariners get Brendan Donovan. So my question to you, Michael, we'll start overall, and then we'll just go specifically to the Cardinals. Overall, for the 3 teams, how would you grade this? On an A to F type scale. And then how would you grade it for the Cardinals?
So I think this is a trade where you have 3 teams, which always makes it interesting. I think every team has a side of it that they can say that this is a winnable trade. So you're not going to get a bad grade for any one of the teams. The lowest grade to me would be the Rays. And the reason for that is it's interesting to me. I don't know about this Williamson kid, so I'll be the first one to admit that. So I may be off here. I'm going to give the Rays a B- because I feel like you basically had to draft the Williamson kid basically by giving up that compensatory pick. Now, what all else goes into that, I'm not sure, but to me, it's a pretty significant give. Not to say it's bad for him. Again, B- is not terrible, but I don't really see the Rays are the Rays, right? At the end of the day, watch, they're going to make me look like an idiot. It's going to be an A+ trade because they always figure out a way to just turn these players that nobody thinks are going to do anything into these all-stars, right? And they figure it out. I'll give them that. Even, they lost Friedman to the Dodgers and they're still going. For the Mariners, I'd give them an A. I think that they got Brendan Donovan at the end of the day. They got an all-star second baseman, probably the biggest hole in their team. As you said earlier, went from World Series favorite to really big World Series favorite. Definitely AL West favorites. That's not an easy division, by the way. You're talking about the Rangers, the Astros. You get some trash cans involved, you never know what could happen. So, sorry, I had to go there. I apologize. Anyways, for the Cardinals, I give this an A+. Okay. I'm telling you, I love this trade. It sucks to lose Brandon Donovan. I'm not gonna lie. It on a personal level, it sucks. It sucks to see. I just bought a Wilson Contreras frickin' jersey this past season. But hey, if you guys want somebody off the Cardinals, buy me their jersey. Basically, I also had a Nolan Arenado. I have a Jordan Walker too, so there's hope for you haters out there. So I also have a Mason. I have a Mason Win that I got at a giveaway. So hopefully, I didn't buy that one technically. So
exactly. Technically, that's going to stick around.
I love this trade for the Cardinals. I love this trade for the Mariners, and I like this trade for the Rays. Again, I don't, you know, I don't really know the Rays system like that. Like I said, for all we know, we're gonna come out okay with the trade, and the Rays are just gonna this Williamson kid will be like the next great thing, great player. I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
All right.
Out of anybody on our roster, if somebody else were to get traded, who do you believe that would be and why?
If anybody gets traded on this Cardinals roster right now,
before the season,
there's a couple that come to mind.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this. You would have to throw years worth of stuff for any team that convinced the Cardinals to trade Weatherholt. So I'm not going to say him.
No, that's not happening.
There's one of two guys. The first, they're both I was going to say they're both players. No, they're non-pitchers. They're both hitters and fielders. My first one is Lars Nootbaar.
I like that one.
I think Lars Nootbaar is great. And once again, it comes down to a guy that I would hate to lose. But he is 28 years old. He'll be 29 in September. And once again, yes, he is a fan favorite. But he's also been dealing with a lot of injuries, dealing with especially on both heels, and that slows you down a lot on the field as well. There's a chance that he could start this season on the IL. Bloom had said that in his introductory conference. So I would go Nootbaar. If I had to go with anybody else, I would say Jordan Walker.
Yep.
And the reason I say that, Jordan Walker was the most hyped Cardinal prospect since Oscar Taveras, the late great Oscar Taveras. The Cardinals put so much hype into Jordan Walker, and and why wouldn't they? He's a great all-around player. A, when he's healthy, and B, when he's managed correctly. Neither of those things have happened yet. And that is a recipe for disaster. And Bloom, as smart as he is, might say to himself, look, we have a great farm system, a lot of great young guys waiting to make their shot at the big leagues. They could say Walker's taking up a roster spot. Cut your losses, trade what you can. The guy is still 23 years old. So he could shine somewhere else. Hell, Donovan could, still shine with the Mariners. I still think he will. I think he's going to kick absolute ass with the Mariners.
Absolutely.
So, but at least you're taking that chance on a 29-year-old and not a 23-year-old,
Sure.
So, but I think Nootbaar would be the next guy to get traded. There's no pitchers in the organization I see that the Cardinals would look at and just say, yeah, we'll trade them. I think they're really trying to stockpile on pitching and on prospects to get pitching. I expect Liam Doyle to be a major focal point of this franchise when it comes to pitching for years to come, which I'm super excited about, by the way. Yeah. But as far as my grades go for this trade, I once again, I'm going to give a B+ to the Rays because, Williamson, there's a lot of raw potential there. He's the one that I was wondering which one we were talking about, who was 25 years old. Williamson is 25. He made his debut. He hit 253 with the Mariners. And when you really think about it, I look at Ledbetter. I mean, he's not debuted in the major leagues yet. Over 123 games with the Montgomery Biscuits, which I think is an amazing name. He hit 265 with 7 home runs and 49 RBIs. So, I mean, they're willing to make that type of trade to trade him away. Meanwhile,
Well,
with the
real quick,
oh,
if you don't mind, you know who would fit perfectly on the Montgomery Biscuits, right?
who?
Alec Burleson, nicknames
Yeah,
Biscuits.
that's true. That's
Sorry
where he's
for
going next. Okay, maybe Burleson's going to get traded to the Montgomery Biscuits. If I had to give the Cardinals a grade, I'd say A+ as well. I think they just got an absolute haul without people maybe fully realizing. To me, though, the A+ is contingent on one thing, and that's going to be the picks. It's what the Cardinals do with these picks. You know, if they turn out into be, and it's not even about if those become established stars. It's just that they nail the picks draft-wise.
Yeah.
I think if they do that, A+ across the board, because they got two great young guys already in Pete and Senja. I mean, come on, you got a freaking switch pitcher. That right there automatically crosses the A threshold. And look, for the Mariners, I'm giving it an A-, maybe B+, because of the whole age factor. And because, yes, even though he signed a $5.8 million deal this year, looming contract issues will come up.
Yeah.
The contract will still be an issue this upcoming season with a team with Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, Josh Naylor. I mean, it is a very talented Mariners team from top to bottom. But with that comes the tough business decisions. I feel it could go Donovan getting a big extension after this year, or I look at this as the Mariners possibly trying to go all in. And if they don't win the World Series, honestly, they're going to start making some moves. You know, kind of like the Cubs in 2016. They built up, they tanked and went all in on 2016, and they won the World Series. And I think that's what the Mariners And I think that's what the Mariners are trying to do this time around. Will it pay off? I don't know. But overall, I think everybody got a great, end of the deal. Nobody got ripped off or fleeced, and I think it was solid dealings all around by all three teams. And for the Cardinals, I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. It's just crazy to me that this happened so close to spring training. Like, I've had comments across the board from people on social saying it's a good thing I met Brendan Donovan when I did.
Was he at the Cardinals
winter warm-ups and everything?
Yeah,
he was at all of that. So yeah. But with that, folks, we're going to wrap up this evening. I want to thank Michael Berry Sr., as always, for joining us, and I look forward to all the amazing work he continues to put forward. I'm the Maestro Jeremy Karp, and you just tuned into the Redbird Breakdown. And always remember that life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Amen. Good night.